and I'm chairman of the Brookline Board of Selectmen, which is the statutory issuing authority for the town's cable franchises. I'll be chairing this evening's Ascertainment hearing, which is the second of two hearings. We had one in July, which over at the Senior Center, which was very well attended. We had something like 100 people and 50-something speakers, so it was pretty impressive. Before going further, let me introduce the members of the town's Cable Oversight Committee. A couple of them are in attendance tonight, but I'll just tell you their names, and this will be the group that will be going forward and assisting us in negotiating with Comcast and setting policy for the negotiation. Myself, Mel Kleckner, the town administrator, Melissa Goff, who's to my right, who's the deputy town administrator, Austin Faison, who's the assistant town administrator, Kevin Stokes, the town's chief information officer, Kathy Bisbee, who I see in the audience, who's the executive director of Brookline Interactive Group, BIG, Frank Caro, who I see in the audience, and Melissa Trevette, who couldn't be here tonight.
Kevin will be on his way.
And Kevin Stokes will be here. Notice of tonight's hearing has been duly published in the Brookline Tab on August 27th, 2015 and September 3rd, 2015, and I'll provide a copy of that notice for the public record to the stenographer. Tonight's hearing is mandated by the renewal provisions of the Federal Cable Act. The current cable television license held by Comcast will expire on April 30th, 2016. The town is currently involved in the federally required ascertainment process. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to, one, identify future cable-related community needs and interests, and two, review the performance of Comcast under its current cable television license. Once the town has gathered community input, it will forward the results to Comcast. Thus, the testimony you give this evening is very important, and I encourage all of you to speak candidly and specifically about any cable-related matters. If you wish to speak, there's a sign-up sheet at the front, and I'll be calling people up in the order that they signed up. I'll ask you to come up to the podium, state your name and address, and I'll ask for the stenographer's purposes that you spell your name so we can get it correct for the record. And because this is an ascertainment hearing for the town, I ask that you not pose direct questions for Comcast to answer. They won't be, they'll not be in a position to answer, and they're not prepared to answer any questions tonight. All testimony and/or inquiry should be directed to the chair, myself. Finally, I'd like to clarify that while this is an ascertainment hearing on cable television matters, there are a number of related subjects over which the Board of Selectmen has no authority to regulate. The first is the rates Comcast charges. The second is commercial programming. The commercial programming that Comcast chooses to place on its network. The town doesn't have authority to regulate internet or phone service either. I realize these are important matters for cable subscribers, and while you're certainly free to comment on these matters, it's important for you to realize that selectmen cannot mandate, for example, specific rates that Comcast can charge, nor the selectmen mandate specific programming to be carried. So this is a public hearing. I'm going to open it up, and I'll just go down the list. Just remember, it's being recorded. There's the camera. I believe the other cameras are active too. And the stenographer is taking the testimony. So Arch O'Reilly is the first one up. And let me also state for the record that I will be asking that you complete your testimony in 5 minutes. And at the 2-minute mark, I'll hold up 2 minutes. And then I'll give you the 30-second warning. And after 30 seconds, you'll be talking over me. So, Mr. O'Reilly.
Archer, as in bow and arrow. O'Reilly, O''Reilly, because Irish don't accept spelling rules. I return having attended the last meeting, not for redundancy, but to show my sincerity in supporting primarily and perhaps exclusively BIG, Brookline Interactive Group, the programs they've developed, the educational support, community building, communications programs that they have made available to the people of Brookline over in our industrial arts building are exceptional, outstanding, and very much worthwhile for the town of Brookline. I know that there's a list of wants that people have been asked to support. I certainly support the very existence of BIG, which when I started was called Brookline Access Television. I have had a live show on Brookline Cable longer than Comcast has been here. In fact, I said at the last meeting I was actually hired to be the first local access director when Brookline first had a cable franchise. They sold before they opened. That happened. But I also would be exceedingly pleased if there are programming on Big TV appeared on the program guide so that people could either find my program or avoid my program as they chose. But it would give us a great deal more legitimacy to actually have listings. As to the HD, I jokingly said that probably wouldn't be an improvement when I'm on camera. But I would note that if Comcast can give HD access programming to Longmeadow, Massachusetts, they certainly could give it to Brookline, Massachusetts. So I won't run through everything I said before. I've shown up again to show that it is important to me to state my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one up is Al Davis. Mr. Davis.
My name is Al Davis, D-A-V-I-S, 15 James Street, Brookline. Well, thank you, and I actually echo Mr. O'Reilly's statements, and I am a return speaker for this event because I just think it's that important that we say this over and over again. What Big Brookline Interactive Group can and does do for the community. And, you know, we just do so much more than pictures, pretty pictures. We're really about the community. We're about educating our community, helping our community, assisting our community. We're involved in the school system. We're involved in giving kids a place to really understand what their future potential is, developing that potential. And the idea that BIG would not be funded and not be a continuing process in this community is actually a very scary idea to myself and to a lot of other people. I'm a 9-year board member for Brookline Interactive Group, and I'm on the board for the purposes of community. And the contribution to community is just such a paramount idea. It's why so many of us are involved in, whether it's being on selectmen in town or involved in any other town functions. It's really about what we do for our community. And the programming aspect with Comcast is particularly important because Comcast is really not just supporting us. Comcast should be invested in us and partnering with us and should really want to be able to share the Brookline programming, the big programming with the community. That's not an obligation. It's actually a tremendous advantage for them to be offering that type of information to the community. And the same thing goes for HD. The fact that BIG is not HD, where HD is almost, I mean, your iPhone is HD, actually speaks poorly about Comcast, that it isn't communicating its media in a state-of-the-art, not even state-of-the-art, just in everyday fashion, I would think that Comcast wants to associate itself with being high technology, on cutting edge, and up to speed with other stations, other communities. And so I think it's a big mistake. But I think it's even a bigger point that, it's been said that access television is no longer such a big deal because of YouTube. Well, I'm involved in communications, and I work with YouTube, and I work with Vimeo. But I think it's a huge mistake for Comcast not to realize that at a time when so many families are actually cutting cable and going to Netflix because of superior programming, or going to Netflix or Hulu or Apple or Amazon, there is becoming stiff competition for that dollar for entertainment. And rather than carrying Brookline Interactive Group or other community stations as an obligation, I think that they should really consider it a partnering opportunity and consider it really smart marketing to align themselves with local access television, help promote our programs, sponsor other programs, not just give what we ask for, actually give us more, and become actively involved in our programming and sponsorship, giving to the community. That way, it will create a very positive reflection on Comcast, and maybe it will create a value-added presence that would actually convince people that are on the fence, whether they, and maybe they just have to have the Red Sox, but if people are really on the fence about access television, and really unsure, rather Comcast services, and really unsure, adding, getting involved with big, sponsoring it, showing that you're part of the community, might just do actually more for you than costing you money. It might actually be very well spent marketing dollars. So I'm here to not only ask Comcast to continue to support Brookline Interactive Group, I'm asking Comcast to get involved and to see it as an opportunity, not as an obligation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. David Nolan? Mr. Nolan?
Hi. I am a non-resident user.
Why don't you identify yourself for the record?
My name is David Nolman, N-O-L-L-M-A-N, and I live at 545 Center Street in Jamaica Plain. And I really came to what was Brookline Access TV in two capacities. One as one who benefited by the cable station, and one who was able to do something for the community, or a number of things for the community, having had that experience. And I don't think it's too overly dramatic to say that my experience there actually changed my life. I was nearing retirement, and I was looking for something that was going to utilize my creative talents, and at the same time to try to do something which would be a public service. So I took a course at what was then the Access TV station called Field Camera. And I was, from that, I got a beginning education in how to use the camera. But that blossomed because I then bought an iMac. I then got Final Cut, and I used as my film school both Brookline Interactive Group and the Apple Store, which has a course. We pay $99, and you can take as many courses, in my case, in film editing as I could. Well, what happened was I ended up being what I think I can now proudly say to be a filmmaker. I made 4 short films, one for the I know I'm going to get this wrong, so I'm going to look at my notes. The Brookline Community Mental Health Center. I did a short documentary on a program called Striving and Thriving, which is a program for women. I think women of low income and who had problems with self-esteem, and had been very successful in getting these people jobs and so on. I subsequently did 4 more films for nonprofits, and I couldn't have done this without Brookline Interactive. I essentially found myself in an encore career that I never expected that I would. So I think my doing something for the community kind of speaks for itself. And I also wanted to say, really important, every time I had a problem doing anything in the field, I was a neophyte to begin with. I'd call myself now, I've worked all the way up to being, I call myself a filmmaker, but I think I'd call myself an advanced neophyte. And every time I needed help, I needed only call the studio, and I got the most gracious and most expert help that I could get, and they got me out of a lot of jams. So I have a personal stake in Brookline Access TV. And I guess I just want to conclude by saying the same thing that everyone else does, and I want to make sure I get this right, so I'm going to read it for a letter which I'm going to give to you.
Yeah, we have a copy which we'll enter into the record.
Okay.
So if you have a minute left, so,
Oh, you do have a copy?
yeah.
Oh, okay. It is with urgency that I ask that you fully fund BIG for the next licensing term and for licensing terms to come. I also ask you to include BIG programming in the detailed listings of the Comcast program guide and to allow Comcast to show BIG community channels in HD. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one up is Amy Emmert. Ms. Emmert?
Thank you for the opportunity. It's Amy Emmert, E-M-M-E-R-T, 121 Center Street in Brookline. Sure. Is that better? Can you hear me? Okay. I also want to strongly echo Mr. O'Reilly's comments about BIG, and but I wanted to speak a little bit more specifically. I joined the Brookline Commission for the Arts this past year, and my personal goal as a new commissioner was to evaluate, recommend, and support efforts to expand the opportunities in Brookline for cultural communication among members of our community. I had lived in Brookline many years ago, and I went away and I came back, and when I left, we had Brookline Access TV, and when I came back, there was BIG, and it was an astonishing transformation. One area of opportunity for the town of Brookline stands out, and that is BIG. Brookline Interactive Group is an astonishing place. The facility and staff have built a phenomenal foundation on which to place Brookline in the limelight of outstanding community media. But there's more to do. BIG needs to be able to list program listing details in Comcast program guide to ensure the public can readily tune into the programming content as they would any other program. In addition, BIG's programs need to be broadcast in HD to ensure that the hard work of the program creators is projected correctly to the equipment found in residence homes, senior centers, the teen center, schools, and other institutions in the town. Personally, I've been working on a plan to develop a new local talent music program series to be broadcast at the BIG facility. I've been putting together a team and talent, and I've been attending training at BIG to understand the best way to make such a program work effectively. BIG leadership has endorsed this effort preliminarily, and we will be working on planning meetings in the coming weeks. And the program will be focused on creating a venue for a broad range of musical cultures and talent of all ages to perform and share their music with our community. We're planning a studio performance broadcast that would include highlights from sites and events around Brookline. This is a wonderful way to keep our residents connected and involved. This type of programming also has the potential to invigorate businesses that have an affinity with the arts. BIG BIG needs to have the operating resources to ensure the technical competence, programming leadership, and capital equipment for the 21st century innovative approaches to media that it will be involved in. And Brookline is in a position to step out of the shadow of the arts programming in Boston and other surrounding communities and truly glow as a unique arts destination. The synergy of media promoting cultural awareness along with lively entertainment can be truly effective when framed from a community-based resource rather than meted out through a large cable company who needs to worry about business priorities. In fact, I would think that Comcast could leverage their support for BIG in many ways. Community-based media infrastructure also provides outstanding training and experience for our residents, as you just heard. Many outstanding careers have been launched from local community broadcasting facilities all over the country, where residents of all ages can hone their skills in a supportive and creative environment. I'm hoping the selectmen will work to engage and ensure another decade of support to allow BIG to build on a fantastic existing platform, to allow our community's residents, businesses, and nonprofit organizations to share their amazing value and contributions to arts and culture. This should be viewed as an invaluable partnership where Comcast and BIG can cross-cultivate outstanding media and communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one up is Frank Caro, and I'll just note for the record that Frank has submitted a column that he wrote for the tab regarding undergrounding.
I brought this evening a printed copy.
Right.
Both a printed copy and an electronic copy. Yeah, I'm Frank Caro, C-A-R-O. I live at 1264 Beacon Street in Brookline. I want to speak this evening primarily about concern for low-income seniors and their access to cable television. After the hearing in July, I thought I would try to get some information about what's currently offered, if anything, in the way of discounts for seniors. I started with the website. I found nothing explicitly about nothing definitively about discounts on the website. I did find my way to something of a blog in which there was a statement that there were no discounts that were offered by Comcast. I did some inquiry, starting with some email, making contact with Comcast representatives, and eventually did find somebody to speak to on the telephone about discounts. And I did learn that there are actually currently two discount programs. One is for longtime users. This is some people who are grandfathered into an old system, in which they get something of a discount for just what used to be the broadcast channels. And that discount program is no longer available, but for people who are subscribing currently, people who are Medicaid beneficiaries are eligible for a $2 a month discount on a list of rather basic channels, including some of the cable channels. But part of the limitation of that is that it is only for those who subscribe to that set of channels. It's not available to anybody who takes a bundle service. So not available to anybody who also wants telephone service or internet access. And I should say that I'm a representative of the Brookline Community Aging Network, and we want seniors, all seniors, to be able to participate fully in community life. And part of contemporary community life is access to television, access to the internet, and access to telephones. And I find it deeply disappointing that the nominal discount that Comcast currently makes available is not available for those who want more than a few, more than the cable television. I'm pleased that that this evening that Patrick Dober and David Treach will be speaking from the Brookline Housing Authority, and they have a specific proposal on this matter. And I should say, I'm very pleased that they're here and very supportive of what they're going to be proposing. Just one final thing in the way of conclusion. Last time I spoke about my interest in the burying of utility wires, and I submitted a set of photographs for that. We didn't have opportunity then to go through those because of technical difficulties, and we don't have time this evening for it either. I should say one qualification about that set of photographs is that it included one photograph which was not taken at Winthrop Square Park, which I'm particularly concerned about. It's a photograph that's actually taken on St. Paul Street near the Holiday Inn. That photograph is meant to illustrate that there are horrendous examples of ugly Comcast hardware around town. And I do not want to suggest that Winthrop Square Park is the only place, but I am suggesting a project that would focus on that as symbolic of a larger issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Next one up is David Treach.
Before you start the clock.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a copy? I'm David Treach, and I live at 52 Linden Place. Treach is Treitsch. Actually, it's at the top of the letter there. And I'm also I'm chair of the Brookline Housing Authority, and I'm here with Patrick Dober, who's our executive director. And we have a letter, and I'm going to read you a letter, which I don't really enjoy doing because you can read yourself, but I'll read it anyhow. Prior to that, I'll do an introduction to the letter I'm going to read you, which is we're going to be asking Brookline to do something that other places don't do, that's a little new, that's a little out of the box, but which I think Brookline sort of prides itself in doing. And so bear with me while I go through this. I might read it a little quickly. As you know, the Brookline Housing Authority is the leading provider of affordable housing in Brookline, serving more than 1,000 households, including senior citizens, public school students and their families, and including housing for people with varied abilities. Along with providing quality, affordable homes, the BHA's mission is to support fully engaged lives and economic advancement for our residents. Access to reliable, high-speed internet service plays an increasingly important part in fulfilling our shared aspirations for our residents. Whether as students, knowledgeable consumers, or participants in a competitive job market, study after study confirms a causal relationship between success and access to up-to-date and comprehensive information. Many of our residents, however, cannot afford internet service and are on the wrong side of the digital divide. Recently, the BHA negotiated an agreement with RCN to offer favorable pricing terms and service levels for all 32 households moving into the BHA's new 86 Dummer Street property later this year. It's a fabulous deal, and we're proud of it. The upcoming negotiations with Comcast provide the town with an ideal opportunity to further extend affordable internet service to all of our residents across the BHA's 10 other properties. We are aware that internet service falls outside the purview of the negotiations over cable TV licensing, but ask that Brookline act as it has many times in the past in recognizing and acting upon an opportunity that meets the needs of its most vulnerable population. In July 2015, President Obama announced the Connections Initiative, a plan to bring high-speed internet to 28 communities, including residents of the Boston Housing Authority. This national initiative recognizes what we all know to be true, that the access to internet services for low-income families is not a luxury, but a source of opportunity for a more healthy and productive future. I'm closing soon. The town of Brookline and Comcast are in a long-term relationship. I want to note that. For us, it's not about fees. It's about a long-term relationship. We can wait until new legislation or regulations mandate change, or we can shape a new arrangement that is beneficial to both. We have raised this issue and requests with many of our community partners and are proud to include below the town organizations and institutions that support the efforts to extend low-cost internet service to BHA residents. It's a partial list. We have also included a preliminary checklist of what it is we are seeking in terms of service for consideration. And finally, as the chair of the BHA, I want to offer my personal support and willingness to participate in future discussions and our negotiations that bring this proposal to a successful conclusion. The organizations include the Brookline Arts Center, the Community Aging Network, the Brookline Community Foundation, Brookline Community Mental Health Service, Council on Aging, Department of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations, the Brookline Food Pantry, Health Department, Teen Center, Library, School, Springwell, Steps of Success, FinFen, and there are others who are asking to be put on the list. We have pretty broad support here. We know this is unusual. We would like to sort of collaborate with with BIG, actually. We think we have a lot of commonality. We think we can lobby together. We think we can work together. We certainly can leverage together and advocate together. This town has clout in a lot of varieties, a lot of ways. We'd like to leverage it in behalf of those who could use our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Corman is up next.
I'm Kathy with a C, also Catherine Corman, Corman. And, let's see.
If you want the internet. you need-
No,
okay,
I've
just have a
managed
slideshow.
to do a workaround knowing
Okay.
that the likelihood of internet in my life is slim and none. I am here on behalf of myself, my husband, Mark Penzel, my neighbors, Frank and Mary Epstein. My husband would also like to speak. I did not put him on a separate line, so we're
Okay.
hoping that you will be somewhat kind with us in terms of time. This had pulled up before.
5 minutes each.
Okay. I don't know. Hang on. Please be patient for 1 second.
Go to the right, the star.
The star. Okay. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to play this first and then do a little splaining. That's your speakers aren't on. So that's to give you a sense of what the problem is. You're in a position to be renegotiating with Comcast. And Comcast is only held in the contract to paying $500 towards installation. We've been listening, my husband and I, to the wonders of big. We have never seen cable TV because we don't get it. We can't get cable. We have no idea what Brookline Cable Access has. We assume that it's wonderful, and of course, support it. We're hoping that as you go into negotiations, that you will work with us and find a solution that does not cost us $11,000. My husband. Thank you very much.
Mark Penzel?
Mark Penzel, 182 Pleasant Street. When we first moved into our house in 1998, I went into the living room and there was this nice white cable coming down, and I thought, great, we're going to get cable. And I called Comcast, and they came right out because, heck, everybody else had cable. And after about an hour of looking around and figuring out, he told me, no, you can't get cable, and the cable we had was coming down from the aerial. So learned that pretty quickly, but we made do without cable for a while until the children were older. We had DSL at the time, and that's what everybody had. And then we got Dish, which is great except when it snows and there's a really big thunderstorm. But we've been living with that, but we still don't have internet, and I know internet isn't fully in the purview, but it comes with cable, and for the same reasons that the BHA has said, living without internet is pretty darn hard. Even Comcast does not know really what at least the home office doesn't know what our problem is, because just today we got 2 more invitations from Comcast to sign up for cable.
It's several weeks.
We get
Should take them up on it.
well, we have. I mean, you can call them up and, this, oh yeah, sure. I mean, we once tried to get Usenet internet, and they were astonished when they saw where we were calling from. It's like, you're in the middle of a densely urban area. Why would you want Usenet satellite internet? So we almost had a solution just recently. I mean, it would have cost $2,300, but that's better than $20,000. But our neighbors wouldn't give us the easement because it would have required trenching through their yard and through the roots of 2 beautiful trees. So we can't hold it against them. We were disappointed, but we can't hold it against them. And now the only solution is apparently from Comcast, trenching through the street. And to make it even better, RCN, which is not under negotiations, but just to give you the context, has a manhole cover directly across from our driveway. It runs up the street, all up and down Pleasant Street. There are cables running down Copley. There's cables under the street on Crown and Shield. But we, because of whatever distance requirements there are in the license, are plumb out of luck. So we hope something can be done in the negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to skip and go put her at the end. Karen Livingston?
I'm Karen Livingston, Karen Livingston, 1501 Beacon Street in Brookline. And I just want to thank BIG on behalf of, first, the library. As a library trustee over the last 15 years, I've worked with many different people at BAT and then BIG on behalf of people in Brookline. We have circulated in our collection, as we do books, all of the BIG programs that they video edit and show of our programs, which allow us to reach people if they have cable TV. Allow us to reach people that can't come in to our programs at night. And Frank, that's a lot of the senior population. We have Brookline Reads. BIG is always willing to collaborate and think out of the box. We had the opportunity, it was about a year ago, to have George Clooney or Matt Damon here, and and preview Monuments Men, which we were going to also have the author of the book and make it a really great experience. But we had to have critical mass to have the event at Brookline. And the staff at BIG figured out a way to hook up the senior center, the teen center, every library, you know, every kind of imaginable community group, the art center, for a simulcast. So we didn't think it was possible. We ended up not being able to do it because of a timing issue. But that's just a little of what they've done for the library, for the community, for Parent-Child Home Program, which is a program affiliated with Brookline Early Education. They have helped that population, our population, which is low-income, at-risk families, primarily in housing, by creating original programming and even donating books, really hundreds of books, to support this programming, which we've been able to distribute. I really can't thank you enough for all that you do. So I support them, and I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting. Thank you.
Ann Brackett?
My name is Ann Brackett, and I work in Brookline, and I live in Marlborough at 45 Harper Circle. I am one of the program coordinators, along with Andrea Johnson, for Women and Girls Thriving in Brookline, a program of the Brookline Community Mental Health Center. We call it Thriving for short. Our program, almost 2 years young, is funded by the Community Foundation, along with the Shulan Chang Fund for Single Mothers of the Brookline Foundation. Thriving is a community collaborative project focused on making Brookline the best community it can be for all its residents, with special focus on women and girls with limited income. Over the past 2 years, we've been involved with over 50 organizations and agencies, or they've been involved in this work. We now have 6 working groups, which are composed of people from different organizations, including housing and the police department and lots of different other ones, along with low-income women. Those working groups are around safety, the arts, employment, parenting and child care, access and information sharing, and healthy food and lifestyle. We've just initiated, starting in June, our Community of Women, which is a community that invites the low-income women, along with staff from a lot of the different programs in Brookline, and we are going to be meeting once a month, sharing dinner together, creating an atmosphere and an environment for sharing food, conversation, information, and learning opportunities. 2 of the local churches, the High Rock Church and the Presbyterian Church, have stepped up to provide the food for these monthly dinners and to prepare the food. So this is just a phenomenal kind of thing that we've seen growing. We're also going to start something we're calling the Community Core of Volunteers, who will be focused on supporting this work for women and girls. And so far we have 3 groups of volunteers, the High Rock Church, the Presbyterian Church, and Rotaract, which is under the Rotary Club, and it's student volunteers from BU. So these are three very different groups. Didn't want to be talking so much about us, but I think it's important to know the kind of work we're doing to understand the roles and the value that BIG has given to us. The roles: listening to understand the complexity of the challenges facing women with limited income in Brookline and the complexity of this work that we're trying to do. They do this by meeting with us, actively participating in community summits, working groups, and the leadership team. The second role, sharing and connecting. Sharing our work with others in the community and connecting us with other organizations and individuals. They've always got, oh, you really should meet this person. This organization is doing this. This is related to what you do, which is great. Maintaining a prominent voice for commonly shared values about Brookline striving to be the best it can be for all its residents. Kathy Bisbee, for example, served as a panelist in our spring summit in May, which focused on challenges facing women developing their voice and becoming community leaders. Fourth, providing generous support and expertise and encouraging innovation. 2 examples. Tessa Amoroso, staff member, has worked tirelessly for 1 year, helping us devise an online and print guide of resources and services. Most recently, our education, training, and employment working group.
Please conclude.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to further collaboration and are so appreciative of all the good work and the excellent staff. And David Nolan, thank you for 3 years ago surviving and thriving and helping us do that video.
Thank you. Charles Moore?
Hi there, my name is Charles Moore, that's with 1 O, M-O-R-E. I live at 15 Davis Avenue, right around the corner here in Brookline. I've lived there now about a decade, and I just realized it's my first town hall appearance, right?
Ooh,
and
we got to get you here more often.
Thank you, my friend. I'm excited to be here, but for me, it shows that this is a really super important issue. And I can't help, I've only got 5 minutes, I might as well start with a joke, right? There haven't been that many jokes. But I meet these people who can't get cable, and it kind of introduces me and why I think Big is so awesome, because I don't want cable. So like maybe we can switch, you can have my condo, I can stay in yours, and then, you can have my, I don't have cable. Anyway, so I'm someone who's been working in academic humanities for over a decade, and a few years ago, some of my colleagues and I got really excited about some of the things that we were coming up with in our work on human rights, and we decided to found a nonprofit company that will bring to a larger audience this research. And it goes very briefly like this, which is when you promote the rights of others, the equal rights in particular, gender, race, class, disability, sexuality, age, all the things we're working on as the human race, right? You actually do something that's in your own best interest. And this is something that maybe you hear a Buddhist say once in a while, or you hear someone say, oh, you're hurting yourself when you do that. But what we've done is we've pulled together all the research on this, from psychology, research on health and medical schools that's done, and the behaviors that are associated with opposing someone's human rights, or even just ignoring it, right? Is not in your best interest. And by contrast, the behaviors that are associated with learning about these issues and promoting gender equality and promoting other kinds of equality actually helps you to live a better life. Okay, so that's the thesis of our company. And now comes this guy without cable, right, who's going to try to make this message to the world. So how the heck does he do this? And people said, you need to go to Big. And so here's this completely technologically clueless guy, academic style, right? Doesn't even, right?
You mean you, right?
Yeah, that's me, definitely, right? So I go to Big, and this is just an
Not Mr.
awesome.
Pencil.
Good. This is just an awesome resource, and that's the reason I'm making my first appearance, so that you guys will really go to bat for big, because I think they're asking for a few things. Number one is this funding issue. I can't imagine how it would be for us if we did not have the opportunity to walk in and not have to pay a professional media company. We've produced 5 short videos between 30 and 60 seconds. People love them. They say they're of professional quality. We would never be able to do this without this resource. They've also been asking for HD, which, I mean, the world is in HD. Come on, let's go in there and say HD. And lastly, there's a possibility of maybe even not getting cut, but expanding and have more of big around in different locations. And that would be another thing that would be great for all of the people here that are doing this kind of community work. I get excited thinking that we could be in 3 different locations and we could have a venue where young people can come in and make a video statement, and it brings our issue to a wider audience and to a higher standard of production also. So that's it. I hope you'll support.
Thank you. I have 2 more who have signed up, and then I'll ask if anyone else after those 2. The first one up is Karen Katz, and then Kathy Bisbee, and then I'll ask if anyone else would like to speak after that.
Hi, I'm Karen Katz, and I'm a 222 Pleasant Street person. I think I do get cable, except I don't get cable. But I'm also the president of Brookline Interactive Group and president of the board. And I joined the board because our goal and mission is to help everyone in Brookline become more effective and better communicators. We are living in a digital age. We are all content creators, constantly making content that ultimately ends up in YouTube and maybe one day Comcast, not just on our own channels, but on the channels that the Penzel family will one day get. So my goal and objective here today is to not only continue to support the organization that I've been a part of, but also to work hard to see if we can get more funding for the initiatives that we've set forth in a lot of our strategic planning, which would be street level access, partnerships with the housing authority or the senior center, more and more outreach so that more and more of the people in Brookline are able to actually create and post and communicate via digital media. And so I've now been privileged to be on the board for, I think, about 3 years. It's been exciting. It's been fun. We are honored to have Kathy Bisbee with us, who comes with boatloads of experience and is going to be a great addition to the negotiation committee. And so I'm probably running short and rambling on and losing my voice, but I am very excited about this process and excited about the possibility of getting even more support from Comcast, and Comcast has been a great partner with us.
Thank you. Ms. Bisbee?
I wish you well. I think you're coming down with a cold. Half of our staff has been through that this week. Good evening, and thank you to the members of the town selectmen, Neil, and town staff. I'm losing my eyesight and did not bring my glasses. It seems I'm a little bit in denial of my age. I'm Kathy Bisbee. I'm the executive director of Brookline Interactive Group and a resident of 60 Gorham Ave. And I'm just going to mention a couple things that I didn't mention last time, and I'm not going to go through all of the content that I brought last time, but I want to say I was a member of the national board of the Alliance for Community Media for 4 years, which is the industry board for all community media centers around the country. And in California, we had just lost our funding. We lost because of the cable companies going to the state legislature, they were able to lobby and pass legislation that not only significantly reduced our funding, but actually decimated, we lost 50 media centers in California in just 2010 alone. So I kind of joke that I come from the future a little bit. And one of the things that I want to bring up at this hearing is that we haven't talked yet about the possibility of getting OTT fees. And that is over-the-top fees. One of the things that a number of people brought up, and also myself, I'm a cable jumper. I don't have Comcast cable, but I do have Comcast internet. And interestingly enough, right after our last hearing, Comcast just started announcing that Boston, the Boston area, is going to be one of their trial sites for their new product, which is internet-only, over-the-top cable access, cable television over internet only. So it's interesting because one of the things that we have been looking at for a long time in the industry is that we're going to lose cable fees. And that's how community media is funded. It's also funding that the town gets as well. And for government transparency and for the educational programs that we provide, we are at risk to lose some of that funding, quite a bit of that funding, if people like me jump away from cable into internet only, and if Comcast and other cable providers are promoting that as a new service that might be interesting, say, to a number of 30 and 20-somethings in particular. So I just wanted to bring that up. I think that would be an excellent source of some new funding that might be able to support some initiatives here in Brookline, that we could get in some ways to reduce the digital divide in our community. I was also one of 7 programs in the country. We were very privileged to be part of that BTOP program federally, which is the Broadband Technology Opportunity Program that Obama brought in the first 6 months of his presidency. And we got funding for our local rural community media center, and there were other urban centers involved as well that got funding for broadband technology education programs that we provided to the community. So I'd love to be a part of any initiative here that supports that. I want to just add that since our hearing, I recently heard that over 12 other communities have been given HD channels recently by Comcast. We'll soon have our new equipment up and running with RCN and HD, so meetings like this will show our every angle and utilize the high quality content it is meant to be shown in high definition. And I should mention all of our equipment is in high definition, so we're actually downgrading it to air it on Comcast. Even a small community college channel in Pennsylvania has received HD from Comcast for its community before Brookline has. I'd like to request that Comcast give Brookline those HD channels, and it is also already being provided here in Massachusetts. Another brief update to my testimony in July. BIG is now providing over 17 media literacy, journalism, filmmaking, and technology communication classes just this fall alone to youth and adults in partnership through Brookline Adult Education, Brookline Recreation, the Public Library, and Brookline Public Schools. Annually, over 600 youth are being served through BIG's programs. And on October 24th, we're very excited to announce that we'll be partnering with the Brookline Public Schools and also Brookline Education Fund to support an Innovation in Education Summit that will be held at BIG, and we hope that teachers will be attending to increase their professional development skills and get credit for that around innovation and education. And we'll be talking specifically about media and technology tools in the classroom and how we can support the goals of our community around those educational goals. In collaboration with the Brookline Early Education Program, we will be premiering on Thursday, October 1st from 4 to 6 p.m. our 4th season of the Be Bear Book Club. And we're very excited about that, so please add that to your calendar to come to the screening. And at our last hearing, you heard from many BIG's members who are creating local content using the training programs and resources at BIG. I wanted to just mention that in the next 2 weeks, we have over 8 live evening television shows. And there are town committees that are coming in and doing shows, including the Domestic Violence Committee. We're doing a training video for the Brookline Police Department. And we have members and nonprofits and local residents also producing. So thank you so much for everyone for your support, and we look forward to partnering with all of you.
Thank you. That concludes the folks who signed up. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak? Why don't you come to the microphone, state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes just like everyone else.
Terrific. Thank you so much. My name is Raymond Latif. It's Latif. I'm currently of 27 Englewood in Brookline. I'm on the board of directors at BATV, now BIG. I've been involved with the organization since 2009. Started as a producer and segued into the director's role. And For me, big boils down to one word, that's opportunity. Big gave me an opportunity to learn about television production when I know absolutely nothing about it, and I can totally relate to Mr. Moore's story about being able to walk into a place and not know anything, and then very quickly learn as much as I needed to learn, as much as I wanted to learn, with the kind of support system that we have at Big. And one of the other interesting things about it is it offers opportunity not just to learn things as an activity, as a hobby. It offers the kind of career development that some people don't necessarily know about or think they have the opportunity to pursue. I segued and transitioned from a career in finance into a career in journalism, and that largely had to do with my experience at Big. I became very familiar with video journalism and how to produce videos at a high quality, and again, that came from the organization. And now I'm the managing editor of a national publication related to the beverage industry. And the beverage industry is kind of where I started with my TV show. It was about the wine, beer, and spirits industry in Boston. And so I kind of took a liking to the subject. Anyway. But, every day I hear about, great stories, and in the 6 years I've been involved with Big, about people learning how to effectively use the tools that are offered to make their lives better. And I see that at all ages right now. I see that with children in the schools. I see that with people my age. I see that with older people. And, it's a resource that has no real cost, I think. I think you can't really put a number on that, on making people's lives better and happier. And that's something that needs to continue. A couple other very quick things related to HD. It's, again, everyone knows this. We live in an HD world at this point. And as a producer, I put a lot of effort, and I know all the producers at Big put in a lot of effort and a lot of passion into the work that they do. And, they want to see their work in the best quality, and that's in HD. I also think that the program guide is something that, we need to see as well. People want to see, if they're looking for listings, if they're looking for a specific TV show or a time for any kind of programming at Big, that's really, really important. The last thing I want to say is that, it's not just me that was helped by Big. It was, everyone that helped out on my TV show really has gone on to do a lot of great things in their careers. Editors have gone on to roles at ESPN. They've also gone on to pursue their higher education in getting their master's degree and doing things beyond that. We've had hosts of the show who have gone on to add a lot of great work that they did on the show. They've added to their portfolio and done many things beyond that as well. So again, this all for me boils down to opportunity, and I think that Big exemplifies the kind of opportunity that we need to have in Brookline for all its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Seeing none, I'll read the concluding remarks, which are some legal stuff. If there's no further testimony, that concludes tonight's hearing. I'll keep tonight's hearing open for 21 days in order to receive additional testimony. Interested parties are encouraged to submit written testimony on any renewal-related issue discussed tonight or any cable-related issue. Written testimony or comments may be submitted to the Board of Selectmen's office by Wednesday, October 7th, and they should be sent next door here at Brookline Town Hall, 333 Washington Street, Brookline 02445. If you have any questions or about tonight's hearing or the cable renewal process, please call the Board of Selectmen's office at 617-730-2200. And thank you all, and that concludes the hearing.